Hello and welcome to Super Boothers. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Ismail.
And introducing my future ex-husband, Justin Jowett, is with us today.
In your dreams, Ryan, but it's good to be back, guys.
Justin was episode number 1.
Yep. Absolutely.
How do you say 1 in Australian?
One in Australia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Very funny.
Ryan had a late night last night, it sounds like.
We're kicking off with racist jokes already.
We already did one.
Ryan's blowing confetti all over the place.
I like things to be festive.
All of the exhibitors around us hate us because Ryan's making a mess. He's making a mess, and then you know what Ryan does afterwards? He organizes the confetti by color on our table.
You serious?
I'm a little OCD.
Yeah.
OCD.
I was just messing with it
Slightly.
earlier. Just slightly.
Just
so,
slightly.
we're at the PBX show right now, and I'm pretty sure everyone is sick and tired of hearing it right now because this is going to be the third week that they're hearing it. But that's all right. So what has been your opinion of the show?
I think it's been a great show this year. I came last year, and I think this year it's definitely got bigger and better, and there's a lot more variety than there was last year. And yeah, it probably helps also knowing what to expect here as well. Last year being my first year, I was like, came here with wide eyes and was just like, oh my God, this is just crazy. Now knowing what to expect and knowing how to make the most of my time here, coming all the way from Australia.
It's
I've
far.
really enjoyed it. It's a short,
That's a
short
good way-
12-hour flight.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it too. I felt the same way wide-eyed last year. It just felt like you just got smacked, and it was like
Absolutely.
9 hours a day of exhibiting, and throngs of people, like masses of people, walking by your booth. So
Absolutely.
Justin.
No, I haven't heard anyone yelling my name, but I've heard a few saying Ryan Salinas.
Oh, whatever.
So when you say you've learned how to make the best of it and maximize your time, what does that mean? What do you think people should do if they didn't come this year and they're coming next year?
Oh, plan your time here. Go and make sure you go see lots of the great seminars that have been put on by all the different people in the industry, all the leaders, and also take the time to get out to the exhibitors and check out things that maybe you weren't even realizing that you might actually be interested in. I've spoken to some really cool people today from all around the world, not just North America, and it's the people that are coming and going to all the exhibitors and just asking them, what do you do, and just seeing if it's of interest to them rather than necessarily just going for the photo booth manufacturers and software and props, which are obviously very important to everybody, but people that are, I guess, a little bit more open in their thinking, I think will get a lot more out of this, because there's lots of great exhibitors here. Just because you don't know them or heard about them doesn't mean they can't help you with your business in some way. And I think that's be open to everybody that's here. And
I think with me, I came here with no intention to buy anything, and now I'm looking at some stuff and I'm like, wait a minute, I think I might want to get something.
Or even people that do have an intention, it's just nice to see everything, test it, before you actually purchase it.
touch
This
and feel.
is the one place in the world where you have this many exhibitors, almost every photo booth manufacturer here, where you literally can compare them one by one by one by one by one.
Literally side by side. And you think it'd be awkward because it's all competitors in the same aisle, but I don't really find it to be that way. I think it's still small. It's like a growing industry each year, but it's still kind of small enough where people are very collaborative.
Definitely. I think there's some great partnerships going on with all different people in this industry to help each other out, and I think that's one of the strengths of our industry is how willing everybody is to help each other.
Yeah.
And it's the same in Australia as well on a much smaller scale, as you guys experienced when you came down for BoothCon, but it's just really heartwarming to see.
And I think we were just talking about this before we got on the recording with Justin, is that you should also plan that it's Las Vegas and you will not get everything that you want to get done. There's a lot of distractions. You should have some fun.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the best relationships are built when you're out and hanging out with people, and that's what you take away from the show. Mm-hmm. But you should plan that you won't get as much done as you think.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point, because it is a very distracting place.
Very distracting.
Just one or two neon lights that can have you running the other way, but plan your time.
I saw some Facebook Live videos last night that were very quickly deleted.
Excuse me.
Oh, what's this? I didn't see these videos.
I saw them.
You were in the background.
You were in the video. And you mentioned BoothCon, like you said, it was smaller scale. I love BoothCon, and I told you, I like the way you set things up. We actually spoke, Brian and I spoke and did a panel discussion this year on stage, and I just felt like the room that you had, the venue that you had in Australia was beautiful. As a speaker, I really appreciated that. Everything was very well organized. It just stands out to me, and I think that that's something. Not that it wasn't good here, but I've heard people say that they think should be a room for improvement.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I think they've been experimenting with different styles. Like this is the first year where the seminars are not really at the same time as the exhibit, so they're improving it.
Definitely, I mean, it's a great idea.
And it's hard to be perfect
well.
with thousands of people.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You're never going to please everybody, but you can certainly, there's always room for improvement and tweaking things. And I think this year that has definitely worked better than last year, having the seminars and the trade show as a split rather than overlapping.
What changes are you making for BoothCon next year?
Other than moving the venue, so obviously we were in Sydney this year, and we're taking it to Melbourne next year, and Melbourne being Australia's #1 photo booth city, the most number of operators, and probably, it was a no-brainer to bring it down there, and I'm expecting it to be the biggest BoothCon yet. Other than that, no great real changes. The Masterclass series that we brought out last year, and the change of format, where we also took it, so nothing overlapped. We've got a day 1 of seminars, day 2 is the trade show, and with some interspersed masterclasses, and I think that's worked really well. So we're just going to expand on that.
I totally agree. I
I'm
think that works.
familiar with that.
You are familiar with that. You did do a really great masterclass, right?
So I will say
was
this.
packed.
I can say
It
this
was
now.
packed.
I just dropped my phone, but that's all right. I can say this now.
Uh-oh.
So
Uh-oh.
this
Here
is a
it
little
comes.
behind the scenes
Why
stuff
would you say this?
because it's awesome.
Why would you say this?
Because it's funny. So with Masterclass, I walked into, Ismail was going to come over to the hotel first, and then we were going to walk over together. So I guess what time did the exhibit open?
At 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so it is about 10:30, and I am rolling in. And I've set up we were there the day before. I was helping Justin set up everything, and I'm getting almost actually at like 9:45. Justin sends me a text message. He's like, where are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm on the way. I stayed a block away. I actually had an Airbnb, and it was quite amazing. I went down there, and Justin goes, oh, you're on in 15 minutes. So I get there at 10:30. Swear to God, I thought it was like, I really thought I started at 2 o'clock. No, you're going to go in 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, watch this.
I've never seen you sweat as much as I saw you sweat that day, but you pulled
That's true.
you pulled it through.
I didn't
Yep.
sweat. I had all of my stuff
Oh, okay.
No.
I beg to differ. I'm with Ismail on this
All
one.
of
There
my-
was more than a little brow sweat.
You were sweating. You were sweating.
sweating.
But I would use the
It
word.
was 110 degrees in Australia.
Yeah, it was quite a cool day.
Oh my gosh, Jesus, it was ridiculous.
Instead of sweating, I'll use the word extreme focus. You had extreme focus for those 20 minutes before.
It was a very zen-like thing, but I just grabbed my stuff, I went down there, and I gave an amazing masterclass that is now available for purchase online at boothcon.com.au.
Oh, thank you for the plug. Indeed.
I actually, so it's weird to hear us in the US we are like .com. It's really weird to hear people say like .com.au super quick.
That
Like
is
it was
really
just,
odd.
Yeah, .com.au.
But I guess-
Yeah.
it's weird.
But I guess you guys are all used to that.
But yeah, for us, that's how our web addresses are. So that's how we learn to say it.
Love it.
So when you said that you are not making any changes, do you take as someone that puts on your own show?
Yeah.
Wait, am I doing a masterclass?
There's a spot there for you. Ryan.
Okay, good. Just checking.
We'll negotiate after.
Making sure I didn't get kicked out.
live.
I was like, make sure I didn't get kicked out.
I'm not sure if your appearance fee has gone up, but we'll see.
Oh,
Wait,
yes, I can get
does
more
he have,
money.
Does he have to give autographs? Because it's cheaper if he doesn't.
I have a Sharpie
You've got a Sharpie?
Yeah.
I've got one too. I'll give you one.
in gold.
As someone that puts on his own event, when you come here or you go to other events like this, do you take away stuff? Like, do you look to see what's working, what's not
Definitely.
working?
I love looking around for ideas and also talking to the people about what, from their point of view, what the attendees, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And basically, before I started BoothCon, I used a lot of feedback from guys in Australia that had already been to this expo in its first and second years, and used that as the basis to create the format for BoothCon. And I keep refining it as well. You know, things will always change.
Yours was pretty much run like a very well-oiled machine.
I agree.
Thank you, guys.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I think Rob's got a really hard task here because it's a huge show, whereas for me, we've got a much more intimate show. It's a much smaller scale, so it makes it a little bit easier for me to manage some of those finite details. But I'm pretty anally retentive when it comes to details as
I've
well.
heard. Yep. I've had conversations.
Is there anything else that you see while you're out here speaking to people that you're taking away from this expo? Like, is there any trends that you're seeing? Because you just did yours in Australia a couple months ago.
Correct.
So, do you see any difference between the markets from there to here, and is there anything new that you're seeing this year here?
I think the Australian market pretty well follows about a 12 to 18 month lag behind what's going on here. So generally speaking, if something's hitting here, I know it's going to hit in Australia, in the next 12 to 18 months.
It's like a look ahead.
It's a look ahead, and that's part of the reason of being here, so that we can bring these ideas back and get them going over there, and the opportunities they create for our industry as well. Seeing the trends here and letting the guys at home know about them.
I think that was my lag whenever I flew over there. It was about 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, I'm still recovering.
I know. I don't know how you do it. Literally, anyone in Australia can't leave anywhere without getting on a flight. One more time. Getting on a flight for an entire day.
Yeah, and that's how we know it. So for us, when we hear other countries complaining, I don't want to go there. That's a 5-hour flight
That's
away.
a
We're
long
like,
flight.
shit.
That's
And
a
5
puddle
hours?
jumper. You can't say that word.
Oh, we gotta bleep that out. We gotta bleep
Australian
it out.
word.
You're gonna get mean comments now.
Don't be culturally insensitive.
Didn't you use an expletive in your little talk over here?
Yeah, in my talk over here, I was a little bit nervous, so I got up with a beer, cracked that open, and may have dropped the F-bomb in there.
Australian style.
I blame nerves and being Australian. Yeah.
You're a foreigner.
And being
Exactly.
Australian. You don't know.
I can get away with it, I hope.
It's different. It's different on Australia.
Yeah.
Standards and practices are going to have our asses.
But it's quite intimidating, At BoothCon, I ended up getting up and speaking there. Obviously, being the organizer, you have to get up and speak. 150 people didn't faze me. I looked out in the crowd. I know nearly everybody in the local industry. Not a jitter at all. But I got up here the other day in front of probably 200 or 300 people.
It's a big room.
It's a big room, and it was like, wow, my heart is thumping here.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
I don't understand that. We were talking about this and how, public speaking, people would much rather die than deal with public speaking.
It's a big fear.
It is a big fear, but
But what's the fear?
Embarrassment, I guess, for people. Like for me.
Oh, I don't care about that.
No,
I will embarrass myself until the cows come home.
Well, a lot of people do care.
Yeah, and a lot of people do care. And, I was the sort of kid that really cared, and I would have gotten up in front of anyone as a kid. But I don't know, as you get a bit older, you start to care less. And it's part of this industry. I want to get up and help people. And to do that, I need to get in front of a crowd. So, you just get over it.
That's cool, because we just interviewed some other people as well that are introverted.
Right.
I like to see that people still go through with things that are not comfortable to them.
Absolutely.
And I've heard this, it's kind of this good advice where to become the top of your industry, it's not enough to just be good at whatever you're doing. If you just become a good speaker, that puts you in the top 10%, because there are other great people that don't have the ability to speak. So if you're just good enough at what you do, and you can get up in front of people and lead a talk, you look like a leader, you look like an expert, and it helps your career or your business move forward.
So true as well. Yeah. And again, that's part of the reason why I make sure I get up and talk, so that people hear me, because it's a lot easier to hear you when you're talking in front of a group than trying to spread the little message just quietly like a mouse in the background. You got to get up, get on stage. Like you guys, put yourselves out there.
It's very difficult. It is not for everyone.
Well, you honestly, that's a good point, because Ryan was not really a public figure before, and when I met him at the expo,
I didn't want to be.
And when I met him at the expo last year, and he told me all the things that he was doing, I was like, dude, you got to get out there.
Yeah, that's it.
So, Ryan, what's the difference from your perspective, from going from one end to the other in such a quick timeline?
Well, so this is the big thing is I was very involved about 10 years ago in NACE and ISIS, which is now ILEA, and MPI, and if there was a networking event, I went to it. I was so concerned with who published what. There are a couple of magazines that come out. Some come out quarterly, some come out yearly. I would spend 2 days and tear those things apart, seeing, what weddings these people were putting out, what, things were getting published. I would go through all that stuff, and I really was driving myself insane. And by focusing so much on other people, I wasn't really focusing on myself. So, and truthfully, what ended up happening was there was, I guess, some little fiscal impropriety going on, and there was, I guess, a president of one of the local chapters that was essentially stealing money from the organization. And at that point, the organization got a really bad rap, and I was the youngest person easily by 20 years in these organizations. So I was doing a lot of the legwork, which was great. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. I did programs for ISIS and NACE, and I was able to get a lot of experience doing that stuff. So that stuff kind of came in handy when it comes to doing super boother stuff. Now, in comparison to last year I have made no secret that I didn't want to be here, that, you know, I came in here with a trench coat, glasses, and a fedora, and then ended up talking to you for an hour. And if you were to tell me a year ago that we would be here right now doing a live video or a live episode, I really would be like, no, you've got to be joking me.
And I have to rub this in your face because you always say I'm not good at small talk.
You're not.
But the deep talk's where it's at, man. That's how I roped Brian, and that's how you build these deep
It was swindled.
connections.
Yes, me and Ismail's wife have been swindled by this. Look, there goes the drone. There's a little drone. I don't think you're supposed to fly those inside, but, you know.
But why did that change, Ryan, where you were out in public,
Yes.
you kind of went back in the shadows and you came
Yes,
back?
I was back in the shadows for about a good 10 years because I was just focusing on doing my own thing and focusing on booking my business and not really paying attention to anyone else. I was it was really like I had a horse with blinders on.
But that's an important lesson, too, is a lot of people just want to, you know, rocket to the top. You have to work on your business, work on your craft, get good.
Yes.
And then people will respect what you have to say.
We talked about Masterclass, where, you know, they have Annie Leibovitz and Steve Martin and Martin Scorsese, and one of the things that the thread that is running through all of them is the concept that you need to be good first at what you do before you do anything else.
Yeah.
Like before you go and talk about it, before you actually spend some money and do any of this stuff, you need to be good first.
It's like the example you say, where do I find the best agent?
Yeah. So Steve Martin was saying that. So Steve Martin does comedy, and he says, you know, a couple of things. People would come up to him and go, you know, oh, well, where do I get an agent? Well, where do I get my headshots? He's like, no, you need to be working on your jokes first.
Yeah.
One of the things that he was talking about was he really hates whenever comedians walk up and go in front of a stage, go in front of an audience and say, how's everybody doing? It's lazy.
Yeah.
You have ruined your first line. That's the same thing that we do with super boothers. So I always, today, I said, my future ex-husband, Justin Jowett. It is.
But you're not a comedian. This is a serious business show.
Listen, girl.
We're not comedians.
No, honey. We are infotainment. That is exactly what we are. We are giving information in a very enjoyable way.
I don't enjoy it.
Well, luckily the audience do. As someone who listens, I think you are entertaining, whether you mean to or not. You are.
Unintentional comedy.
Yeah.
We only joke with those we love, so I guess I must really love you. But this is the thing is, so last year, you know, I walked through the expo and I realized I have been there, I have done that, I have seen it a million times over. There is nothing that anyone there. I'm sure if I would have gone to some of the classes and, you know, hung around for a little bit, I'm pretty sure maybe I would have picked up one little nugget or two. But I've been in the business for 15 years now. Anything that can happen at an event has happened to me. And that was whenever I left the expo, I realized, you know, I really need to be helping people not make the same mistakes that I made. And that's one thing that I felt is kind of like my calling a little bit, is that I really want to help people move forward with their business. And really, you know what, I have people have come up to me and gave me really specific questions, and you know, if ever someone comes up to me, you can ask me anything you want. Whether or not I answer, it's a different story. However, if you come up to me with a legitimate problem that you're having with your business, I will give you my absolute best advice. People have come up to me and have said, you know, hey, I've done this before, it wasn't working. Well, I will usually ask a couple follow-up questions just to kind of dig around and see if you're not telling me anything, and then kind of go from there. That's happened a couple of times this week.
And I think people are really shocked when they come up to us and find out that it's a free show. Like, what are you selling? We're not selling anything.
Just before we started this podcast, that's exactly right. A lady said that. So when are you guys starting to charge for this? It's like, no, it's free. It's going to be free.
The podcast will always be free.
Yeah.
Whether or not we choose to offer paid content a little bit later on down the road, that's the only thing that will change. But the podcast itself will always be free.
And truthfully, we've already mentioned some courses that we want to do. We haven't had time.
No, it's
really
been
put it together.
It is such a difficult thing to put on a weekly show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. So I said to you before the podcast, I'm like, how do you come up with new ideas, new content? So it's like.
And Justin asked me right before we came on, and he goes, you know, do you find it hard to come up with content? And no, I mean, we really
not yet. Maybe when we get to episode 582.
I don't think ever. I mean,
but you know, there's always new stuff happening. You come to the expo, there's things to talk about. There's new things going on. So as the industry advances, there's more topics to discuss.
I probably liken it to, like, I've written somewhere in the order of about 160 blogs. And
Do I have to put my credit card information for those blogs?
No, you don't need it.
Okay.
They're all free to the public.
Okay.
And I come up with topics to that I regurgitate information out of my head on paper to help photo booth operators here and around the world without them having to pay for it either. And every now and again I'll get a block, but then also when that block clears, then suddenly I've got like 9 or 10 ideas and write them all down, and then that keeps me going for a while. So it's sort of like, it's not like this constant content production. It's just like, okay, I'll have a period of creativity where I'll write a bunch, and then it's sort of like a lull.
We do the same.
We go through the same thing as well. There are times where like we'll get into like a real good groove, and like things will just like magically happen. Like the one episode where we were recording it in studio, and we just happened to be talking about picking up the phone, and I'll be if my like phone actually rang in the middle of the recording, and actually Zach, our audio engineer, was like, "Did that really happen? Like, did you plan that?" And
No.
we're like, "No, it just really spontaneously happened."
Yeah, no, it's cool. And I think you get, what was the site where you had these blog posts, if you don't mind mentioning to the audience?
Yeah, it's on the Photo Booth Finder website. So we've got thephotoBoothFinder.com and photoboothfinder.com.au for the Australian people out there that are listening. And there's a section called Operator Resources under the About Us tab, and there's a heap of blogs on there for everyone to access. You don't even have to be a member of the listing on the directory.
You, not having
Giving free content.
Just
swindle
giving free
people's
content out.
emails.
Yep, no, you don't have to give me anything. It's there to help everybody.
You know what's also interesting to me is earlier on you mentioned how there's a lag where you come here and you know that you'll see some stuff 12 to 18 months later in Australia.
Yep.
Someone mentioned the same thing about the UK.
Right.
That there's a huge lag, and they just started doing an event there. Why do you think a lot of the innovation happens in America?
It just seems to be the epicenter. I mean, the American people, I think, embraced this whole mobile photo booth idea first in 2005.
We're all lazy.
You're putting words in my mouth, man. No, I don't think that's it. I think it's just that embracing that entertainment aspect of it, and so I guess this became the epicenter pretty quickly. And like a flower blooming, everything grew around it, and everybody else is just scrambling to get a piece of that. And bring it back to their own country.
That's what I find too. Is
Yeah.
a lot of people are coming here, not just from Australia and UK. There's people from the Dominican Republic I met, Barbados.
Yeah, it's
they're
crazy.
coming here to
Trinidad.
look for new things that they can bring back home that will make them stand apart. Like they'll be
Exactly.
the only ones with that new thing.
That actually happened in New Zealand. Someone made a comment that I guess in New Zealand there's not a lot of the photo booth world isn't exactly happening over there.
Yeah.
So if they come out with like a brand new product that's brand new here in the U.S., they're literally 3 years ahead of the curve.
You know what?
Absolutely.
I'm kind of envious of that because that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like they just come here, find something new, bring it back. But here, everyone sees everything in America.
Sure.
So it's harder to stand out.
This is true, but for the guys coming out from other countries, they're taking a huge financial risk. It costs a lot of money to come over here to put the effort in, and so
Costs a lot of money to stay here.
to
Lost
stay
some money
here,
at the
to eat
tables.
here, to gamble here.
I made a lot of donations to Las Vegas while I was here.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, with my poor Aussie dollar that's worth very
I'm pretty
little.
sure he has put some lovely young lady through college.
I hope so. Put that money to good use.
Yeah, exactly. We're in the business of helping people.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna give her a run. I'm not a taker.
Your wife is sitting on her phone, going through Instagram, paying attention. Hi, man.
Lies.
Philanthropy. That's
Well,
that's our middle names.
Oh, well, good. Let's just change that under your occupation
Yeah,
on your
I'll put it on my
Instagram.
business card.
Philanthropist. Justin Jowett, philanthropist.
Hey, I like it.
I'm sure. Justin, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure, guys. Always a pleasure.
I'm so
Love hanging
excited.
out with
You
guys.
have been such a big proponent of Super Boothers
I
from
love Justin, man.
literally episode. Easy there, he's mine. He has been a huge proponent of us from episode 1, and there are very few people that have been on board from literally the very, very, very beginning.
Before we wrap up, I'm curious. What did you see at the very beginning to be such an early supporter? Like before we started.
Yep.
What did you see that made it worth your while to jump in and do the first episode?
I saw basically what I was trying to do, the previous few years when I tried to get kick-started, and I was in the same position as you guys. I had this great idea about wanting to create something that brought value to everybody and trying to get it out there. And I remember how hard that was to get that traction, to get started. So, when you guys came to me and told me what you're doing, it's like it was a no-brainer. Of course I want to help you guys. If you guys are helping people, I want to help you, get out there into the face of them and get your messages out. So for me, it was a no-brainer. It was easy, and you're nice guys as well.
Are you surprised at how quickly it took off?
I've never been called such a thing. Continue.
Yeah, look, it's really blown up. When in the early days, when Ryan was sending me the audience figures and the subscribers and where they're coming from and how many, I was just like blown away. Because it's what you want to see. You want to see success and see it where it's due. And when it happens so quickly like that, I think it's brilliant.
From the Photo Booth Expo alone, in these last 3 days, we've had a 27% jump in subscribers.
Yeah, already.
That's awesome, man.
Just
already
from that. Yeah.
Awesome.
And normally, our average growth is maybe 2% a week.
2%, 3% a week.
Yeah.
It's steady growth.
Yeah, always steady.
But there was a big jump this week already, and it's still not over. So
yeah.
Thanks again, Justin.
Pleasure, guys.
Really appreciate the support.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have one more episode coming out for you next week that we recorded live at PBX. My masterclass at BoothCon in Australia is now available for purchase. Go to www.boothcon.com.au/shop or check in the show notes for more information. Our 50th episode is coming up. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/superboothers. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week.